So this morning, X is down and Truth Social is down. And I mean completely down. This is what happens if you go to X on a computer. And this is what happens if you go to Truth Social on a computer. So I guess we're just going to look up the newest on what is going on with these Epstein files. So Donald Trump in the Oval Office yesterday, he did say that he was going to sign the bill. He was going to sign the Epstein files release bill after, of course, for the longest time, he was saying that it was a hoax. It's a hoax, a Democrat hoax. They are putting fake stuff in these Epstein files. And of course, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey who are pushing for the release of these files. And I believe it's also a bill by Ro Khanna where they forced a vote on releasing the Epstein files. And it does look like it's going to 100% pass. So that could be happening today. Today is Tuesday, the 18th of November. So that is a possibility of happening today. This is what Donald Trump said in the Oval Office about whether or not he will sign the Epstein files release bill. And you'll notice his voice sounds a little hoarse. And he also said that was because it's hoarse because he was yelling at stupid people. He said that in another clip, but take a listen.
Truth Social last night, you urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to say, here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others, they're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars, and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that.
Very, very interesting. And you know, Donald Trump, he's acting as if, and this is what I just don't understand, guys. Donald Trump is acting as if releasing the files is somehow going to deflect from what he's done for the United States of America. You know, now, I don't know what's in these files. I don't know why he's so hesitant about releasing these files. But I do know this. I don't think it's going to deflect from anything he's done unless there are something extremely shocking in those files about Donald Trump or for some Republicans. See, I don't know. I don't know why he is so hesitant and so reluctant to just open up the floodgates. There has been a lot of people speculating, saying it's because these are fake. They're planting fake evidence. They're planting fake stuff. And while that could be a possibility, if this were so fake, if they were so fake, have Pam Bondi investigate. Release it and have Pam Bondi investigate. Donald Trump has a lot of grace with the American people, and that is what I believe should happen because these were promised to the American people, and I think him signing the release of these files is the right move. And I do not believe that this is taken away from what he has done. I will be forever grateful for what Donald Trump has done to quash out wokeness. That is, I believe, the number one victory of his administration, quashing out the woke mind virus. It's absolutely incredible what he has done. He came up to it. He came out and he faced it head on, and he did not bow to the woke mob, and he didn't allow anyone to tell him that he should be politically correct. In fact, he was the exact opposite, okay? I mean, Donald Trump is one of the most politically incorrect people out there, and he is our president. So that is absolutely incredible. That, I believe, is going to be one of Donald Trump's top achievements as far as his legacy is concerned. So Donald Trump, listen, whatever's in these files, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to be released with these files, but rest assured, you do have a lot of people who are rooting for you as far as your legacy is concerned. And just because there might be some files being released and you might be expending some resources when it comes to the Epstein files, know this: the American people wanted this. The American people are sick of seeing elites get away with horrible acts. That is one of the reasons why you are in office. So this Epstein file release is absolutely 100% necessary, I believe, because that is really, if you look at Trump sitting in the White House, that is almost 99% why he is there. A middle finger to the elites because they get away with some of the most horrible things and they stick it in our face. They flaunt it. And you know what we said to them? Hey, we're going to elect Donald Trump. He is our retribution. And this is all part of it. But this was a very funny clip that I found when X was still up. Let's see if it's still down. So X is still down. True Social looks like True Social is still down. So if you are wondering where I'm getting these clips off of, it's I'm getting off of Instagram. So these are some clips I posted on Instagram last night, and I'm showing them to you now. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, go follow me at UnwokeThoughts. It is the best and fastest news account on Instagram. Everyone loves it, okay? It's the best, and it's also on Facebook, and Facebook is incredible as well. It's just the same content, basically. So if you'd like to follow me, Facebook, Instagram, UnwokeThoughts. Chuck Schumer was asked a question that he absolutely flubbed. It was really funny. A reporter asked Chuck Schumer, why wouldn't the Epstein files have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office? And Chuck Schumer answers it. He goes, exactly. What is he hiding? Take a listen.
Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released?
Yeah, what is Joe Biden hiding, Chuck Schumer? Please tell us. Please tell us what Joe Biden is hiding. I don't know if I want to know what Joe Biden's hiding, to be honest with you. That guy, I mean, just that whole scandal that came out about Ashley Biden's diary. I don't know if I could stomach what is in that guy's closet. I don't know if I want to know. But we got some latest on Jeffrey Epstein. So this is what is going on. This is being live posted by the Guardian. This is just now. Speaking today, progressive Democrat Ro Khanna thanks his colleagues, Republicans Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. He notes the pushback that the latter faced. He's talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course. She is now out of MAGA, pushed out by Donald Trump and labeled Marjorie Traitor Greene. This is what Ro Khanna said. Quote, there was so much pressure against her, but she stood with the survivors. He added, quote, I expect an overwhelming vote in the House of Representatives, and I don't want the D.C. swamp playing any games. They need to pass this in the Senate. They should not amend it. President Trump has said he would sign the Epstein Transparency Act, and I tend to agree. The Republicans, they do have the House, they do have the Senate, but everyone knows, every Republican knows, and this is what something that Thomas Massey said. And, of course, Thomas Massey and Donald Trump are no good friends. Donald Trump attacked him ruthlessly when he pushed Marjorie Taylor Greene out of MAGA. The same day, he came after Thomas Massey for getting remarried after Thomas Massey's wife died over a year ago. He said, boy, that was quick, which was like completely brutal. But Thomas Massey, he did say one thing that I tend to agree with, and I tend to think this was a very strategic and strong maneuver that Thomas Massey did. Is he went on, I forgot which outlet it was. It wasn't CNN, but it was one of those other ones on Capitol Hill. But he said, as a warning to anyone that was thinking about voting against the Epstein files release, he said, the results from this vote are going to outlast a Trump presidency. And it's true. These representatives, these senators in office, if they vote against the Epstein files release, it's going to follow them around everywhere. It's going to make them radioactive. Absolutely. It doesn't matter how much Trump might try to shield them, how much Trump might try to endorse them. That one thing is going to follow them around. And that is what Thomas Massey reminded them of yesterday. Epstein survivors to speak on Capitol Hill as House prepares to vote on complete release of Justice Department files. Several survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse are set to speak outside the Capitol shortly. They're joining the Congressman Ro Khanna, a Democrat and Republican representative, Thomas Massey, who co-led the bipartisan effort to force a House floor vote for the complete release of Justice Department files on Epstein. Also speaking today is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, Marjorie Greene. Yes, I hope you go out there, and I hope you are strong, Marjorie Greene, because when you went on CNN, you did something I just grates on my nerves. You apologized to the left. She apologized to everyone for toxic politics and toxic behaviors. Going on CNN and apologizing is like facing a serpent that's about to strike at your throat and saying you're sorry for being toxic. That's how I view it. You never apologize to a mob. So Marjorie, I hope you go out there and you are a fighter like we all know and love, and you don't apologize to anyone. You go out there and be the firebrand that you are. Also speaking today is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican who has been one of Trump's most loyal allies in Congress. In recent days, she's found herself on the receiving end of the president's wrath while pushing for the release of the files. And then, of course, we had a casualty of the Epstein files, which this is something that came out of Donald Trump telling the Justice Department to look into Democrats who are named in these files. The latest casualty is Harvard professor and economist Larry Summers. He's a former Treasury Secretary. He was named in the files, and he was actually in communication with Jeffrey Epstein, and Epstein actually called Summers a wingman. So that's very interesting. So this is the very reason. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to everybody, pretty apparent to everybody. This is the very reason why average everyday Americans are so enthralled with this Jeffrey Epstein situation. This is why we're not going to forget it, because we have individuals that are in such high office who are connected to this guy. We're not going to just be like, oh, okay. We're not going to just look the other way, because this is representative of the rot in our system and the rot in our politics and the rot in our leadership, which is why Donald Trump was elected to begin with. And no one's going to tell anyone that they're just supposed to forget this and that this is just a hoax, because you have Larry Summers, a former Treasury Secretary, Harvard professor, an elite member of society, called a wingman of Jeffrey Epstein. Politico reported on Monday that Summers, a former Treasury Secretary, expressed deep regret for past messages with Epstein. Quote, I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused, he told Politico. Quote, I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein while continuing to fulfill my teaching obligations. I will be stepping back from public commitments as one part of my broader effort to rebuild trust and repair relationships with the people closest to me. His comments come after lawmakers on both sides of the aisle urged companies and institutions to cut ties with Summers. Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren told CNN that Summers should be held accountable for his years-long relationship with Epstein. Summers is now the subject of an investigation that Trump started last week. The U.S. president instructed Attorney General Pam Bondi to launch an inquiry into several Democrats and institutions after their names appeared in the latest tranche of documents, which included emails that seemed to suggest Trump himself might have known about Epstein's conduct. And, it is really no surprise, this last sentence here. Trump himself might have known about Epstein's conduct. I don't know to what degree Trump's knowledge was of what Epstein was doing, but he knew something was up at the very least, because he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, which is what those emails confirmed. He knew Epstein was doing some untoward stuff. He didn't want him in Mar-a-Lago. He didn't want to be associated with Epstein. And I also believe, I just so happen to believe that Trump, this is probably one of the big reasons why he didn't drink. You ever wonder why Donald Trump didn't drink, didn't do any drugs? I think it has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of these powerful people were being compromised by Jeffrey Epstein and probably by these intelligence operations. Trump is no idiot. Trump knows what's going on. He has his finger on the pulse of what is happening in society. And he probably observed, pattern recognition. He probably started observing what was happening to some of the people in his circle very early on. Or maybe his dad warned him of this because his dad, of course, was involved in elite society as well. And his dad probably said, hey, these are the pitfalls you want to look out for. And one of those pitfalls is drinking and doing drugs. because you start getting involved in that scene. You start lowering your inhibitions, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a trap set by Epstein and Israeli intelligence agents. Yes, I said it. Israel compromises our politicians all the time. Everyone knows it. And it's not good, okay? Which is why I don't think it's good that we have the two congressmen and women, or congresspersons that are critical of Israel being pushed out. But that's, of course, something I've been harping on for a while. But this is the latest, just kind of high level, what is going on with these Epstein files. After months of infighting, House GOP could vote today to release the Epstein files. Republicans in the House could be on track today to approve the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, a vote that follows President Trump's unexpected blessing for a measure that has driven rancor through the party and its base. Now, I don't find this unexpected. Am a little bit perturbed as to why Donald Trump is so against releasing these files. But I think Donald Trump, his hand is kind of being forced, because whether or not gave his blessing to this or not, I think they're going to be voted to be released. So I think his hand was a little bit forced. The bipartisan effort, which has been led by Thomas Massey, Ro Khanna, was long fought by Trump and Republican leadership from reaching the House floor. As recently as last week, White House officials met with Representative Lauren Boebert about her support for releasing the files. But her position was unchanged after the meeting. I do wonder if Lauren Boebert is going to be the next one to go. I've never been a massive fan of Lauren Boebert either. However, I will say, I do believe my standard for MAGA is set against Lindsey Graham and Randy Fine. Until Trump kicks those people out of the MAGA, there's no one else, in my opinion, that should be kicked out of the coalition. So even though I'm not a big fan of Lauren Boebert, she's still more MAGA. She still belongs in the party, in the coalition, more than those two jerkwads. But her position was unchanged. Trump also attacked Republicans for pushing the measure, including Massey and most recently Marjorie Taylor Greene. However, Trump did a about-face over the weekend as it became clear a vote for the House was likely to succeed. We know all of that. Let's scroll down here. Looks like this was a final nail in the coffin for the vote. His remarks came after a simple majority of House members signed onto what is known as a discharge petition. So if you're wondering how this vote is actually coming to the floor, this is how. So there was a simple majority of House members. They signed a discharge petition. And this is a workaround that forces votes without leadership or committee approval. And last week, the chamber's newest member, Representative Adelita Grijalva, she's a Democrat from Arizona, she became the decisive 218th signature on the petition. So that means that this will come to the floor for a vote. Her swearing in was delayed for 7 weeks after her election, galvanizing Democrats who accused House Speaker Mike Johnson of stalling in order to put off the vote. But Johnson rejected that claim, saying her oath of office would not be taken until the government shutdown fight was resolved. He also committed to not block the vote on the House floor. Tuesday's expected votes also comes after a wave of Epstein files were released last week by members of the Republican-led House Oversight Committee. So we all know what happened with that. They were selectively released based on whether or not Donald Trump was mentioned in these emails. And like I said, I still tend to be on this side of Donald Trump doesn't have a whole lot to worry about or I don't think there's anything that implicates Donald Trump in these files, because I just don't understand. If there were something in the files that implicates Trump as to doing something bad, why weren't they used during the Biden administration? Why weren't they used during any campaigns? I don't think that can be explained. I do believe what is happening is Donald Trump is being leveraged by his donors, by some of these big names that are mentioned in the Epstein files, probably by foreign donors, Israel, people like Miriam Adelson, some of his big name donors. I think that is the reason why Donald Trump does not want to release the files or has pushed back against releasing the files. I believe it's because of that. It's not necessarily that it has something to do with him personally. Maybe in a roundabout way it does. Maybe it negatively affects him because it negatively affects another person. Maybe there's retaliation that is promised from some side of the administration or from some donor or from some foreign country there's a negative consequence to Donald Trump, his administration, his legacy. This is all speculation, but I don't believe it necessarily has to do with Donald Trump personally when it comes to the files. I could be wrong. I still give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt because it still does not make sense why the files, if they had anything extremely negative about him, wouldn't have been used against him. But that's me. I'm a little bit biased when it comes to Donald Trump, but I am more critical of Donald Trump probably than the average Republican. So I'm like right in the middle. So I get the slings and arrows from both sides. I mean, I've seen it just the past week or so defending Marjorie Taylor Greene. Can you believe it? The past week, I've probably defended Marjorie Taylor Greene probably 2 or 3 times. I've lost like 50 subscribers over that. Are you kidding me, guys? Are you guys really that much of a snowflake to where me defending a OG MAGA individual causes you to unsubscribe? I mean, I get it. Maybe I'm not your cup of tea. Maybe you just listen to me from the very beginning just because I pumped up Trump and I live streamed his speeches and his rallies and all of that. But come on. It is what it is, though. I say what I believe. I know a lot of people in this space on YouTube. They go on YouTube and they talk just incredible about Trump. They find any way to make Trump look good. They twist around. They do verbal jiu-jitsu to try to make what Trump is doing to look positive, even if it's something negative, and they will never criticize him. But yet, behind the scenes, you talk to these people, they have a completely different opinion. They're critical. They say, yeah, this is, they're very clairvoyant all of a sudden behind the scenes. But when they get in front of a camera, it's like, I think there's a term for it. It's called audience capture, where they just give kind of the audience what they want to hear. They toss the audience red meat. I'm not saying I'm any better than that, really. I mean, everyone does that. But I do give my own opinion, probably more than the average person, and I stick by that opinion. It's what I believe. It's kind of the temperature I'm taking with what I am seeing in the country right now. And if that's not your cup of tea, I get it. You don't have to subscribe to me, but that's who I am. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Share the video. Yeah, share my videos. That helps a lot. But until then, I will see you on the next one.